this afternoon, ito yung pag-uusapan natin. It's MOOCs 101 or Massive Open Online Courses 101, the what, whys, and how. Siguro as our introduction, and I will stop sharing muna yung slide ko at this point, I will be asking the question, how many of you have heard, that's first, of Massive Open Online Courses and participated in any Massive Open Online Course? So kung ano man yung sagot ninyo, pakilagay po doon sa ating chat box. So kayo ba ay nakaparticipate na? Or narinig nyo na ba? Do you know anything about Massive Open Online Courses? And have you participated in any Massive Open Online Course? Siguro you can also put there ano yung saan kayo nag-participate, ano yung provider, and if you can still recall, even yung kurso, the MOOC that you enrolled. Sino na sa inyo yung nakaparticipate? Coursera. So si Ma'am Teresa Calao, yes, Coursera. So that is expected kasi Coursera is the biggest, if not one of the biggest providers of Massive Open Online Course. So UPOU model, si Ma'am Joyce, o si Ma'am Amanda, distance education po na UPOU. Okay, so marami sa atin ang may mga experience na in doing MOOCs. Si Dayan Haro, heard but just participated now. Yes. Si Ma'am Azalea, UPOU and Coursera. Si Ma'am Sonia, not yet. Si Sir Mariscal. Sir, nandito ka talaga, suki ka na namin, ano? Just learned about it last March and participated in the UPOU model. Yes, so many of you also just have heard of it, and some participated through the UPOU Massive Open Online Course. So later I will also be discussing the journey, UPOU's journey in doing its Massive Open Online Course. So for many of you who had participated, marami Coursera, no? Si Ma'am Maria Teresa, yes, I also earned my PhD from UPOU. Parang familiar po, ma'am, yung pangalan ninyo sa akin. Si Sir Michael, yung sa Simio, yes, oo. Yung for the teachers, yung mga MOOCs ng, is that something like keeping the flame alive, something like that. I also have heard of that. 7 MOOCs si Sir Prudencio. Ang dami nyo na, sir, na ano sir, natapos nyo po lahat yun? Sir Prudencio, yung 7? Titingnan ko yung sagot ni Sir. Ito, keeping the passion alive. Yes, oo. So, yan. Si Ma'am Michelle, siguro we have to make a distinction between MOOCs and the webinars, because webinars are not MOOCs. They are OERs, but not the complete MOOC by itself, ano? Okay, so si Ma'am Jocelyn din, product of UPOU. So marami ang si Ma'am Christine, even the UNESCO MOOC, yes. Okay, so thank you very much. So maraming nagsabi na from UPOU, and then Coursera, and then yeah, yung sa Simio Innotech. So because of that, so thank you very much for responding to my question. Because that will somehow, siguro, especially yung mga naka-experience na in doing or enrolling or even completing a MOOC or 2, si Sir nga kanina, 7 na yung kanyang in-enrollan, ano? Si Ma'am Sir Prudencio, sabi niya na kumpleto niya. That's very good, sir. Kasi ako wala akong na kumpleto na MOOC. Sa totoo lang, I enrolled in so many, but I have different reasons for enrolling. In fact, as early as 2008, I was already participating in different massive open online courses, but there are different reasons why I am enrolling or was enrolling or even participating in this massive open online courses. Okay, so balik ako dun sa slides ko, no? So again, this afternoon, ito yung pag-uusapan natin. Ano nga ba itong mga MOOCs na to? The what? What are these MOOCs? Why? So why are we even implementing it? Why are we even doing it? And how shall we do? How, if ever we will be interested for our university, for our respective universities to do MOOC. So how are we going to do it to make it more significant or create more impact, depending on the very purpose why we are doing or implementing or offering massive open online courses. So for our session objectives, so these are our objectives. So describe what massive open online courses are, explain the imperatives for Philippine MOOCs. Why are we even developing and offering our own MOOC? Samantalang later I will be showing you the stat for the massive open online courses coming from the big providers. So bakit ang Pilipinas? But why do we even have to venture into it? Describe the Philippine MOOCs model and its role in the Philippine education system, and consider how MOOCs can be used by one's institution. So within, as part of your participation in this course, in this module, then there is also that reflection, which I hope can be integrated into your re-entry action plan on how your institution can use the massive open online courses, not necessarily the one coming from UPOU, but from those providers that you have mentioned. So you've mentioned Coursera, the wide range of courses that Coursera is offering. So how can we make use of this very many massive open online courses that are now available? Okay, so what are MOOCs? So these are courses delivered online and accessible to all for free. So free admission yan. Wala kang babayaran, walang course requirements. So it's for anyone who is interested to know about the subject matter. So MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. Massive because enrollments are unlimited. You can accommodate to even up to hundreds of thousands students. So the implication here is that your course should be designed to accommodate that number of students. And when we say massive, it means to say that it should be more than, I think the number is 250, something like that. So it has to go beyond. It has to go beyond. I'm not sure it's 150 or 250 for it to be considered as massive. Open because anyone can enroll. There is no admission process. Online because they are delivered via the internet. Although there was a period in our discussion about MOOCs that we even considered looking at radio and television for our massive open offline courses. So MOOCs pa rin siya, MOOCs pa rin, ganyan. But since considering the kind of internet access that we have, here in our country, especially in the rural areas, then we should probably be thinking of another model and not necessarily those courses, open courses that rely on internet connectivity. So may diskurso ng ginagawa ang OU. So ang sinabi namin doon, therefore then we go back to the early model of distance education, which is school on the air or television on the air, whatever we may want to call it, and course, because there is the specific goal. There is a learning outcome that we want the students to achieve at the end of the course. And because of that, there may be a form of assessment as well. There may be a form of assessment. Okay. So dito kanina may sinabi I can't recall yung nagsabi ng webinar as a participation doon sa MOOC. Given the way webinar sessions are now being implemented, and if it is clear right from the start what the learning outcomes are for the session, because this is a teaching process also. Webinar session is a teaching process. Okay, so if the learning outcome is already specified and there is some sort of a learning activity or assessment at the end to determine whether the student has learned or achieved the learning outcome, then probably that particular webinar session can be considered as a MOOC. So pwede nating tingnan na gano'n, ano? If it will satisfy the different features or characteristics of a MOOC. Okay, so yan yung sinasabi natin na even the definition, even how we look at MOOCs can be evolving or developing. And for us in the Philippines, given the so many webinar sessions that we are conducting now, we can even propose that kind of definition for MOOCs. Okay? So, kasi ngayon, karamihan dun sa mga webinar sessions that we are attending, they have an assessment at the end of the session. You will not be able to get your certificate if you will not pass the assessment. So, in so many webinar sessions that I serve as a resource person, they would always be asking me for quiz questions. Ganon. So that those who participated and would want to get their certificate of attendance or completion, kailangan maipasa muna nila yung quiz. Something like they should have, for most, they should have answered 7 out of 10, correct questions. Parang ganyan. Before they can be considered to be given the certificate of completion. So, MOOCs typically comprise video lessons, readings, katulad yan, assessments, and discussion forum. Discussion forum being one of the activities, ganyan. But there is always an assessment and there is always a video lesson. This is because these characteristics can be because in most of the MOOCs that we are participating in now, and most of the MOOCs that we know, they don't have the synchronous sessions like the one that we are having now. Most of the materials, most of the inputs will come from the video lessons, yung mga pre-recorded na video, and the reading assignments that the course facilitator or teacher gives to the students as an input to the learning process. So these are what MOOCs are. What is important here is they are designed for massive enrollment, unlimited enrollment. They are open because they are not requiring anything from you except that you will be participating, your internet connectivity, because that is a requirement. And there is an assessment because in all MOOCs, the giving of certificate is assessment driven. Okay, so that's our definition for MOOCs. So that if we are now considering offering MOOCs by our university, then we should look at these characteristics of the course that we are planning to develop and offer under this framework. Okay, so a brief history, the word MOOC was coined in 2008. So as early as 2008 by Dave Cormier, University of Prince Edward Island. So it is to describe a course, Connectivism and Connective Knowledge, offered by Stephen Dons and George Seaman. So it was something like a trial on their part because they really wanted to test the kind of learning that will happen, exploring the connectivism among the learners. If it's if it is more than the usual 25 students that they are getting in their courses. So ito yung, if you talk of MOOCs, then these are the persons associated with the very first MOOC offered in 2008. So para pagka ano ba yung MOOC na yan, then we can always go back to these two persons. So like in our case, we always remember people na associated with the things that we are doing now. So for instance, I think it was in 2019, it was last year, that we attended a global conference on distance education in Ireland. And the very reason why we attended that conference, napakalayo niya, napakamahal nung conference fee, mahal ng pamasahe. The very reason why we attended that conference was because George Siemens was there. And since he was there, syempre hindi pwede hindi kami magpapakuha ng picture. Kasi ano nga, parang sabi nga namin, para kaming mga fans, di ba? Pag nakita namin itong mga tao na to, we always really make it a point to listen to whatever wisdom they could share, given that this was something that they did not foresee at the time that they were doing this. So it was in 2008 that this happened. And then in 2011, MIT, that's Massachusetts Institute of Technology, have this open courseware, which became the first large collections of MOOC resources. So in 2012, MIT and Harvard, they collaborated to spearhead the edX initiative. So if you are also curious, edX is another provider of massive open online courses in addition to Coursera. So the MOOCs with an emphasis on interaction, just like the very first MOOC, they are being called CMOOCs. And then XMOOC, it was the one offered by Sebastian Thrun of Stanford University. This one naman, these types of MOOCs look into the possibility of reaching massive audience. Kaya X siya, XMOOC. Because they really want to reach more, hundreds of thousands. So therefore, they offered this introduction to artificial intelligence in 2011, coming from Stanford University. And then Andrew Nang and Daphne Koller, also of Stanford, founded Coursera. Diba? Itong si Trun, Udacity. They founded naman edX. So ito na yung mga unang-unang mga providers, Coursera, Udacity, edX. Sila yung mga unang-unang providers ng mga massive open online courses. So I mentioned earlier that as early as 2008, I was already participating in MOOCs. And then after that, I enrolled. I enrolled in many MOOCs just so that I will know paano ba ito ginagawa. I mean, I became curious. How are they implementing it? How are they doing it? How are they designing the courses, etc. And then there was also a point in time that I participated in MOOC because I wanted to get access to the materials that they are using. Because the materials that they are using are also free access materials. So like for instance, I became interested on learning analytics, so I enrolled in a MOOC on learning analytics, just so that I could download the materials, reading materials, video materials on learning analytics. So that's why I said earlier that I have enrolled in many MOOCs, but I was not able to finish any MOOC. Because once I have studied the design, got hold of the material, hindi ko na masyadong itutuloy kasi masyadong busy na yung schedule. So 2012 was declared as the year of the MOOC because it was at that time after Stanford, Harvard, after Udacity, Coursera, edX, after they have started all these things, there were so many MOOCs that were made available. So 2012 became the year of the MOOC. But immediately following that, 2013, i-declare naman na yon na year of anti-MOOC because they said that MOOCs failed to deliver its promises. Sabi nga gano'n. Kasi ang daming ipinangako ng MOOCs. Pero sabi nila, when they were assessing it, after 1 year, ang dami ng criticism sa MOOCs. Ganyan. That, in fact, some of them hindi na naging libre, ganyan. So yung inclusion in the teaching learning process, hindi talaga nangyari. And then when there were research on the profile of the MOOC participants or MOOC students, these are not really the disadvantaged sector of the society. Kaya sabi nila, well, MOOC is not delivering what it promised. So because of those, we at UPOU, we studied all these, we call them criticisms, yung mga bagahe nitong MOOCs. And then we try to look into how we will be able to design our massive open online courses to get away from these criticisms, which all emerged in 2013. Okay, so if we're going to look at the number, MOOCs in 2019, ganito na kadami. There were 110 million students. 900 plus universities offering MOOCs. 13.5 thousand courses, 820 micro-credentials, and there are 50 MOOC-based degrees. Yung mga nano-degrees na tinatawag, micro-masters, wherein you'll just have to take a set of MOOCs, then you will earn a certification, something like that, micro-masters. So many MOOC providers are already offering that. As I have mentioned earlier, these are the top MOOC providers. So for many of you who mentioned Coursera, there are 45 million learners so far as of the end of 2019 with 3,800 courses or MOOCs offered. And then, yun nga, may mga micro-credentials sila, micro-certification that they are offering. Ang edX has 24 million. Udacity, 11.5 million. So ito, yan yung mga galing sa MIT, sa Stanford, sa Harvard. Pagdating sa Future Learn, is a UK-based, 10 million. And Swayam is a platform from India. Siyempre, marami naman talagang tao sa India, so that could probably account for this number of MOOC learners. Aside from that, in India, there is already that policy wherein they are recognizing MOOCs completion, which can be credited towards a degree program. So meron na silang policy on that, just like in Malaysia, I think they also have that kind of policy. Okay, so ano na tayo ngayon sa Philippines? Sabi ko nga kanina, why despite that number? Ang dami-dami na eh. Pwede naman tayo mag-enroll na lang sa Coursera, pwede naman tayo mag-enroll na lang sa edX. Ako, I prefer enrolling at edX para mas maganda yung range of courses that are available. Ang tanong ngayon, in fact, I was asked this question, why are we even venturing into it? When in fact, there are big providers with big funding, So, ano ba naman tayo? Bakit pa tayo mag-i-enroll dito? So we started our MOOC journey in 2013. Considering that at the time, it was the year of anti-MOOC. Diba? So noon pa nagsimula yung UPOU, noong 2013, through the ULearn project. So it was a project which I initiated when I was dean at UPOU. And the very first platform that we have, now you have the model platform, Noon, ang tawag namin sa platform, Aral. So ito yung ganito namin siya isinusulat. And I would always give credit to my colleagues at the FICS, at the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies, for helping in articulating what we want the UPOU MOOCs to be. So it is also powered by Moodle. So if you can see, there was a discussion as early as this, in fact, April 2013, when we started doing it, as part of our partnership with SMART. The very first MOOC that we offered, because we really needed funding, was this, Introduction to Mobile Application Development using the Android platform, and it was in partnership with SMART. So at the time, there was already that question, why are we even thinking of offering our own MOOCs when in fact, we can just enroll in the other MOOCs provided by Coursera or Udacity or edX. So bakit nga ba? So ito yung mga why Philippine MOOCs, the imperatives. So I have listed here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Actually, may kulang pa nga dito eh. Parang wala pa dito yung sa OFWs, as one imperative. So, but the first imperative is the Paris message. You can even Google and read the whole document. But in essence, this is what the Paris message says. The number of students enrolled in higher education is forecast to rise to over 440 million in 2030. So, 2020 na tayo ngayon. We're just talking here of 10 years mula ngayon. There is a need to respond to the scale and urgency of demand for accessible, affordable, and quality higher education. open and flexible education represents a core range of strategies. Hindi kakayanin noong the usual education system that we have now. Yung papasok ka sa isang physical campus, etc., di ba? So MOOCs is one possibility among this open and flexible education. But the initiatives will have to be supported by the robust quality assurance and regulation. So what we are saying here is because of this projection contained in the Paris message, kailangan universities should do something to make their education system open and flexible. When it was in 2012 that this Paris message was released, if we will now consider what is happening in our education system, the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, mas kailangan nating tingnan yung open and flexible education. Because as I mentioned in many of the webinar sessions I conducted, the kind of education system that we have now is not open and it's not flexible. Okay? So again, Philippine MOOCs, this is our response to the Paris message in terms of providing the open and flexible system of education. Education Agenda 2030. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4 proposes ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. So how are we going to do that? So nakalagay dito, in the context of developing countries, where poverty still presents a major hindrance to accessing quality education, open education is a possible recourse. And MOOC is a form of open education. So again, ito yung magiging contribution natin, how we are going to achieve our Education Agenda 2030. Specifically, it pertains to Sustainable Development Goal number 4. When we talk of out-of-school youth, how can we provide education? Related dito do sa second item natin. In the Philippines, 3.6 million out-of-school youth, 83.1% were 16 to 24-year-old. That's about 3 million. And probably are potential students. They are potential students of our massive open online courses. I have put here enabling mechanism for providing education to our out-of-school youth. So we have here the 2016 ASEAN Declaration on Strengthening Education for out-of-school children and youth. And of course, our advocacy that no youth should be left behind. So if we are going to take a look at this, and if we are going to talk of inclusive education and lifelong learning for all, so this is SDG number 4. So we are talking here, while this is the formal education system, ito yun, yung formal education system natin, saan napupunta yung mga hindi part, yung mga magda-drop out, doon sa formal education system natin. We are also talking of teacher professional development, di ba? Who may not be able to go into the graduate studies that we have here, magma-master, magdo-doctoral, magpo-postdoc, di ba? This advanced studies, formal advanced studies, Master of Science, doctoral, siguro pwede nating sabihin, they are not open to all. Di ba? So how can we provide them with continuing professional development opportunities? So dito natin inilalagay yung mga hindi magiging bahagi, those who will not be part of the formal education system. And they will also have the opportunity to learn and be part of a teaching learning environment. Okay, so if we're going to look, ito yung itong data na to, matagal na to. There was no K-12 yet. So kung titingnan natin yung data, and I think many of you are familiar with this, out of 100 na estudyante nag-enroll sa grade 1, 66 lang ang makakatapos. Out of that 66, 58 lang ang mag-i-enroll sa first year. At ang makakagraduate ay 43. As I have mentioned, wala pang K-12 yan. Isipin ninyo, the data that we will have, if we will already include here up to grade 12. Diba? Ilan na lang kaya yung makakatapos? Diba? So, out of the 43, 23 na lang yung papasok. Yung nagsimula ng 100 yan, ha? And out of the 23 who started the first year in college, 14 lang ang makakagraduate sa kolehiyo. At may problema pa yung makakagraduate na yan sa kolehiyo. Sometimes, the knowledge and skills that they would have after completing their degree program, their college degree, are not even the skills and knowledge that the major industries need. So may gap. Di ba? Ang tagal na natin problema yung gap na yan. Between the knowledge and skills that our students have after completing the 4-year degree program in college and the knowledge and skills that our industries need. So dito, papasok din itong mga kurso na we can offer. Okay? So response to and shaping industrial revolutions. That's the fourth imperative. Until last year, before COVID, we were all talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0. We were already talking about how can universities, higher education institutions, respond to the needs of IR 4.0. Ang bilis magbago di ba? But our curriculum, yung mga curriculum natin, before we can even revise our curriculum or put in place a degree program, a curriculum, baka nasa IR 5.0 na tayo and we are still talking about the response to IR 4.0. Nangyari pa tong COVID. So mas lalong na mas lalong bumagal pa yung pag-ano natin. So and now while we were talking of responding to IR 4.0, there were already talks of IR 5.0. 'Di ba? Wala nga lang na konti yung focus nito. IR 5.0 with focus on the cooperation between man and machine as human intelligence works in harmony with cognitive computing. So by putting humans back into industrial production, kasi yung IR 4.0 talagang nila pinag-uusapan, technology, So ito, they are talking of putting the humans back into industrial production with collaborative robots, workers, upskilled. Workers will be upskilled to provide the value-added tasks in production, leading to mass customization, mass customize, but at the same time, personalization for customers. So, nandun yung balance, mass customize mo, pero may personalization ka. In short, Industry 5.0 is the return of the human hands and minds into the industrial framework. So, nag-uusap-usap pa lang tayo ng 4.0, eto na, may mga 5.0 na pinag-uusapan. How can we respond? And ang pinakamabilis na pagsagot natin dito is through itong mga kurso na we can provide. For our graduates, yung mga ipapagraduate pa lang natin, and for those who are already part of the industry. So again, MOOCs can be a strategy to make a quick response to this rapid changing environment in the workplace. Okay, still response to and shaping industrial revolutions. I have mentioned this already, the skills mismatch. There's the gap between what the employers demand versus what we at the education sector is providing. So nakalagay dito, 7 out of 10 people are currently in jobs where the future of their career, profession, or industry is uncertain. So how are we going to respond to this reality or to this projection? Okay? So another imperative is the rise of the gig economy. Of course, we have heard that gig economy is the new normal now, even in the Philippines. Even now, with this COVID-19 pandemic, it has become more dominant now. There is this independent or contracted work. Ang sabi nga namin doon, well, it was a joke that we always say that the millennials, the new generation, are more into this kind of work, independent or contracted work. And the thing is, there are also different kinds of work that are now available na ganito lang yung nature niya. Diba? So independent and you will be contracted. Therefore, yung skills mo as an individual, as a professional, will have to be at that level. Kailangan laging tuloy-tuloy yung pag-upskill mo sa sarili mo so that you will always find your skills and yourself relevant to the demand of the market. So what we are saying is gig learning through the massive open online courses will be what the gig economy workers would need. Okay, so I have put here statistics in the Asia Pacific region alone. 84% of hiring managers outsource to gig workers. And this is a very high percentage. Ano? Mas tinitingnan na nila ngayon yung mga gig workers. Probably mas malaki yung nasisave nila than having to hire these people on a full-time basis. Okay? So more inclusive quality education. We are saying here that we are looking at MOOCs as open educational resources. There will be, I hope we can have a separate discussion on open educational resources, but just to give an idea, these are learning objects. These are learning objects which are freely accessible to the teachers, to the learners, to any individual who may be interested to learn about a particular topic. So, when we talk of MOOCs as OERs, then these massive open online courses, when you talk of blended learning, even in the classroom setting or in the residential setting, we often look at open educational resources as our inputs in teaching the lesson. Pero dito, when we talk of this model of MOOCs as open educational resources, then if there are MOOCs that are relevant to the content of the course that we are teaching, and it so happened that it is open, being offered now, then we can enroll our students to these courses, no? Kung sino man na nag-offer niyan, as long as it is relevant to the content of the course that we are teaching, ang magpo-provide na ng content sa ating mga estudyante ay yung MOOC that they will enroll in. And then, ang magiging trabaho na lang natin sa classroom or do sa klase natin is to assess. We will assess them in terms of what they have learned, di ba? So that ma-evaluate natin and then we can give them the grades that they deserve. Okay? And we are also looking at it as a strategy to reduce, if not totally eliminate, the major barrier to education and learning, which is the cost. Okay? So, given this model of MOOCs as open educational resources, the last initiative or imperative is we look at MOOCs as our contribution to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, we know that there are 17 of these goals. They may be tackling different societal problems, poverty, of course, education. We have discussed SDG number 4, health, social protection, job opportunities, life underwater, etc. Diba? So lahat ng yan, nandun, contained yan sa Sustainable Development Goals. But we do believe that education should be at the center of each Sustainable Development Goal. It will all start with education. Otherwise, walang awareness, walang effort, walang contribution, then we will not be able to achieve these development goals. Especially now, with the COVID-19 recovery, we again should put education and inclusive education. Hindi pwede yung formal education, hindi pwede yung sa university, pupunta pa sila sa university, di ba? Hindi na nga natin yung magawa ngayon. So open education should be at the center of each development goal contained in this SDG of the United Nations. I have mentioned earlier about OFWs. Although in my discussion with TESDA, I somehow implied to them that probably TESDA should be more aggressive in providing open online courses to our OFWs so that just in case they want to go back to the country, and this is happening now, they still have additional skills which will make it easier for them to reintegrate into the production or the kind of economy that we have here in the Philippines. So that's another imperative for doing massive open online course. Now, if you are to look, if your university, you as part of your university, if you are to look at these different imperatives, and you may have that capacity to offer a massive open online course, then what could be your most pressing imperative? Ano kaya dito? Alin kaya dito among all these imperatives? You can even think of your own imperative for offering a MOOC. If you are in a position, you have a certain expertise, what could be the imperative for your university to offer a massive open online course? So that's a question that I will leave for your reflection. So what are the models that we are considering, or we have considered in the development of our MOOC? So this is the how. So when every time we think of developing a specific MOOC, we should be able to answer these questions. What purpose? What purpose will that particular MOOC serve? Because we have a very limited resources, okay? And unless it is very clear to us why we are even producing that particular MOOC, then probably we should not go ahead and invest on that, because there is an investment associated with the production, the development and production of a MOOC and running it. Running the MOOC, there is an associated cost or policy, just like what we did at UPOU. So the first model is it will provide specific knowledge or skills to support major industry needs. So like, for instance, when we talk of Android apps development, this is with SMART. The assessment of SMART at the time was we lack apps developer for the Android platform. Okay? Sabi nila, hindi naman pwedeng mag-hire kami ng mga apps developer. But if this course can be offered to those who are interested to develop apps using the Android platform, at makagawa sila towards the end of the course, makagawa sila, and maayos yung kanilang ginawa, SMART will even offer to buy the app from the developer. So yun yung so may specific skills na tinuturo doon sa mga magi-enroll. Itong MOOCs for the business process outsourcing industry, we also did this. This is in collaboration with the IT BPOP companies, with the BPO companies, because at the time they really need many manpower, many workers for the BPO industry, for the many companies that are operating here in the Philippines. And they said that we have to continue training manpower. They have to have the pool of manpower. Sabi nilang ganyan. So we offer the MOOCs. In addition, the MOOCs that we offered and that will also form part of this model, number 3, these MOOCs that we offer for the BPO industry are also the content of the credit courses that many HEIs are offering as I think part ng kanilang parang elective or minor area for their IT or management program. So it also provided, this MOOCs also provided the content for those credit courses. Parang limang kurso yata yan na we develop the equivalent content in terms of MOOCs. So bridge gaps, professional development, especially for the teachers, yung continuing professional development nila. And then some of these MOOCs that we also develop support specific advocacy. So like, for instance, the child rights protection and promotion. Okay, so these are the MOOCs, the set of MOOCs that we developed together with UNICEF, because as per our observation, the rights of the children, and we have a legal enabling mechanism for that, the rights of the children here in the Philippines are not protected and are not promoted. So we together with UNICEF, we develop the MOOCs which will help promote and protect the rights of our children. We also have the social interest MOOC, which is part of our sustainability, our sustainable development MOOCs. And then I mentioned earlier about the MOOCs for the BPO being equivalent in terms of content for the credit courses that many higher education institutions are offering. So may part na yan ng PSG ng CHED. So ang example dyan, one example is this MOOCs for the BPO. for the service management program, I think it's called the service management program, we also have the 9 courses for the business analytics. So meron na rin yan, may equivalent content ng mga 3-unit credit courses, may mga study guides, may mga sample assessment. So, available, free access. Ang kailangan na lang gawin ng mga teachers, ng mga learners ay i-access to mga content na to. Ang mga teachers naman, gamitin yung study guide on how to teach the course and even use the recommended assessment. What we did for the MOOC, 1 MOOC is equivalent to 1 credit unit in terms of content. So kung itinuturo ng teacher, the fundamentals of business analytics, ganyan. So kumpleto na yung MOOC noon. So gagawin na lang ng teacher, i-enroll mo yan, kumpletohin niya yung 3 MOOCs, and then assessment na lang yung gagawin noong particular teacher. And these are all online. And of course, I have mentioned this already, free online training, especially for our teachers. Kasi di ba nagkaroon ng issue noon na for the teachers to get the equivalent points for their renewal of the license, masyadong mahal ang kanilang nagagastos. So why not have this free online training? But of course, we still have to get the PRC accreditation for this, so that mas malaki-laking points yung makukuha nila for the training programs that they are taking through this MOOCs. Saka syempre may mga kailangan mga issues and concerns na isosolve din for that. But the thing is, just like what we are doing now, for the skills and knowledge that what we feel our teachers need, then we are providing that kind of training program through the MOOCs that we are offering. So since 2013, we have been offering MOOCs, and since 2017, we have also started offering our own micro-certification program. So these are our initiatives on the part of UPOU. This is our platform. I think you are all familiar with this. This is, ang sinabi natin dito, this is the official MOOC platform of the University of the Philippines Open University. We are also integrating the basic features on universal accessibility, and we are saying that because it carries the university brand, then you are assured of free, relevant, and quality courses. Okay, so kapag pumasok kayo dun sa site, ganito yung makikita ninyo. So these are the featured course offerings. So ang ginagawa natin, kapag gusto nating ipakita kaagad dun sa mga bagong estudyante, yung mga MOOCs na dapat enrollan nila, inilalagay natin dito ongoing and upcoming courses. Okay? These are the certification programs that we have. So meron tayo for Asian Studies. I have mentioned the Business Analytics. We have for the BA track and for the IT track. On Child Rights Protection, we have for E-Filipiniana. This one is for the BPO program that I have mentioned. This one is for the local government unit, the interlocal cooperation. This one, the UDEL Teacher Accreditation, this is the training program that we continuously offer to our teachers from universities who are considering to offer their programs, degree programs in distance education. The technology for teaching and learning, these are the MOOCs, the set of MOOCs. Those of you who are offering courses on education, meron kayong mga kurso that you call before, I think it's called EdTech 1 and EdTech 2. And then ngayon, ang tawag na sa kanya ay TTL 1 and TTL 2. So yung content noon, it came from the ICT Competency Framework for Teachers developed by UNESCO. And from that competency framework, we also develop open educational resources and MOOCs. No? So ito, yung ino-offer nyo ngayon, especially the TTL1, andito na yung content dito sa mga MOOCs na ginawa natin. And we also have open educational resources for the content equivalent to TTL, especially the TTL1. Okay? Also, the UPOU's MOOCs are part of the Asian MOOCs portal. That means to say that our MOOCs are also being promoted and made accessible to other individuals interested to learn about them throughout the region. Ang promotion pa lang na ginagawa natin is throughout the region. So during the time of COVID-19 pandemic, MOOCs also became our platform for the immediate and mass training of teachers. So pag lockdown pa lang, March pa lang, nung nagkakaroon na ng usapan na universities may shift to online teaching and learning, we immediately offered this MOOC, quick guide on how to convert your courses online. So maraming modules yung in-offer. I'm not so sure if some of you also participated in this MOOC. So we have Google Classroom, open educational resources. We already discussed that there. Designing learning for online instruction, learner support, assessment. So I think there were seven modules which we offered starting March 17 or March 18, just so that we can provide the opportunity for the massive and quick training of our teachers who needed to shift to online learning. So ito yung, if we are going to take a look at the comparison, when we started offering massive open online courses, itong data that I have here started 2017 up to early 2020, the pre-COVID offering. So kung titingnan ninyo, this is the number of offerings. Ilang beses na naming in-offer itong mga kurso na to, and these are for the teachers. Yung mga, of course, there are so many other MOOCs that we offer, but I just took here the data that we have which aim at training the teachers. So given this many number of offerings, ito lang po yung mga enrollees na nakuha namin, considering that it's from 2017 to early 2020. When COVID happened, okay, from March 19, so I have here the data kasi that's when I think put everything in model platform up to March 22, but I think the courses were offered until April 29. Ganito yung naging data. Like Google Classroom, for instance, we immediately got March 19, during that 2 weeks of March, less than 3,000 students compared mo dun sa nag-enroll noong walang COVID. So the interest really increased. And again, MOOCs became our platform for the massive training of teachers. Those who are interested for the free training, sinabi namin, just enroll and get and complete the training program. Okay, so again, during the COVID-19 pandemic, online learning or MOOCs became our strategy for the direct, rapid, and mass training of teachers. This is the only way we can do it. We cannot go to your universities. We cannot hold face-to-face. In fact, during the early part of the year, we were already planning for a face-to-face training program. We have invited some universities to participate. Some already responded that they are participating, and it was supposed to happen in Los Baños. So parang ano na namin. We already issued the invitation, but then COVID happened, so we have to redesign the training program, and MOOCs became our platform. This became our platform to enable universities to send their teachers and participate in the training program. I have mentioned this, MOOCs as OERs for trainers to train fellow teachers, should be teachers, to train fellow teachers. So katulad ng MOOCs as OERs that I described earlier, kayo mismo, those who are participating in our training programs, you can be the trainers yourselves. And you can make use of our MOOCs, the MOOCs that we are offering, so that you can design the training program which you can implement in your university. It may be the OERs that we have developed from our repository. It can be the OERs that other organizations develop, like UNESCO. Ang dami-dami na rin na ginawa ng UNESCO. Or it can be the MOOCs that we are offering, that we have developed and we are offering, or the MOOCs that other service or MOOC providers are offering. We'll just have to know what they are and what MOOCs will exactly fit the need, the content of the training program that we have developed for our own institution. We are calling it the flip online learning. Kasi everything is online, even the mode of our training delivery is online, but we are using the MOOCs that were developed, or the OERs that were developed by other organizations to provide the content to our training program. Okay, so I think, yeah, that's the end of my presentation. So good afternoon. Thank you for your active participation.